Transformers Prime. The thing to know about Transformers Prime is that it had two strikes against it before the first episode even came out. First, it had a Transformers Animated problem. While airing, Transformers Animated was considered one of the best in the franchise's long history. Now, the series doesn't have quite the same popularity today, although it does still hold up. It's just that a lot of other things have come along since then. But nevertheless, it was really important. It originated a bunch of ideas that would be incorporated into the larger franchise, including the character of Bulkhead, who is actually in this show, just not this episode. It's believed that Transformers Animated was canned because of Hasbro's desire to create the hub with Discovery Kids, and they wanted to have their own Transformers series. You don't want to be competing against yourself. So to see the beloved series struck down in order to make this was a strike against it, regardless of the reasons. Now, the other strike is that it was made by the two writers of the pair, at this time, of live-action Transformer films, with the awful Revenge of the Fallen being fresh in everybody's minds. Imagine for a moment the original Star Trek being canceled so that Roger Corman could do his own version of the show, and you get the general sentiment. Still, going back and watching a number of episodes in anticipation of some of the reviews that will be coming, what I've seen so far is nothing like what I was afraid it'd be. The inclusion of Arcee as a regular, and the centerpiece of today's story, is very welcome. Cullen and Welker reprising their roles also is great. Megatron sounds different from the old days, but it's because he's an even more evil version than the G1 was. An excellent backup cast includes Jeffrey Combs, Keith Michael Richardson, Steve Bloom, and Ernie Hudson. And a strong computer art style did a lot to help the entire affair go down smoothly. Anyway, let's get down to the episode. We begin with something flying from space, smoking its way through the atmosphere, and crashing to the ground. Yeah, you don't have to be Strider to follow this trail. Arcee and her human friend, Jack, are out here to find out what's happened. Jack's just a 16-year-old high school student that got roped into all of this. Now he spends his free time hanging out with the Autobots, and she spends downtime as a motorcycle in his mom's garage. There's two other kids, but they don't appear this week, so we won't worry about them. Kind of like Ratchet's attitude towards them, I think. She gives him some good-natured crap over his survival kit, a multi-tool knife, and a magnesium fire starter, but Jack is not the least bothered. The only thing he doesn't like about a chance to do a recon mission are the bugs. Poor bastard has no idea, does he? They find the ship, and after the titles, Arcee has identified it as Cybertronian, but no idea whose side piloted it. She soon finds out, though, triggering a flashback. That's a bad flashback. I prefer playful kittens in my flashback, not arterial sprays. She tries calling back to base, but the ship is scrambling transmissions. And as she tries to decide what to do about this, more flashbacks. Not the tickle monster, no! In the present, she transforms and rolls out with Jack riding her. There will be no double entendre jokes with that. I have at least a shred of good taste. Well, even as far as they've gone isn't far enough to get a signal through, so she leaves Jack here so that she can deal with this personally.
I thought I was your partner.
No, Jack, you're a kid. You're only here because this was supposed to be no risk. Got it?
But I have a knife that can open a can of beans. I'd be a good partner. The sight of a stump smoking from acid triggers more context for the flashbacks. On the run and talking with her partner, Tailgate. Things seem to be going well despite the general sense of battle to the place, but getting suddenly stuck to the wall by a web glob ruins that mood real fast. This is how she gets strung up, because the one we're dealing with is Arachnid, with spider-like characteristics. Now, I dug around, and to the best of my knowledge, there's no explanation for this. Again, not an expert on the Prime series by any means. I haven't even watched the entirety of the first season. But unlike Beast Wars or Transformers Animated, there's just no explanation for why she's a robot with spider powers. I mean, surely neither a bite by a spider nor radiation would really matter to a robot after all. Arachnid is stalking a human camper, so Arcee intervenes, and we find out what her crazy psycho deal is. See, again, from what I've been able to piece together, between the war and everything, Cybertron gradually reached a point of being largely uninhabitable, and both Autobots and Decepticons by and large abandoned it. That's why we see these factions in small pockets. Well, Arachnid figured that the war must be over now, so rather than joining up with some Decepticon faction, she got a new hobby of collecting specimens of sentient species, and then cutting their heads off, and then devastating their population, presumably to increase the collector's value. Well, humans are the next target. Lucky us. During the fight, Arcee gets the upper hand, but when Jack arrives anyway, she's distracted and gets webbed up. She still puts Arachnid down for now, but...
Well, partners don't ditch partners.
Get this through your head. You're not my partner. You're a liability.
It's a real shame to hear that spoken and not have it end with Neelix. As wounding as that could have been, it just washes off Jack because it's the reason that he couldn't stay. Arcee is saying and doing what she is because she's afraid of something, and he has never seen her afraid before. See, while in her clutches, Arcee was tortured for information, but she didn't break. Her partner, Tailgate, was found and brought in, and when Arcee wouldn't give up the attack coordinates, she says she doesn't have them, Tailgate is murdered right there in front of her. And that's why Arachnid has now chosen her latest partner as the human to add to her collection. To really make it hurt. Really make it personal. You know, I did a check on Google, and I couldn't find out what the term is for a female spider, so I think it's safe for me to settle on bitch. I think that works. She stalks Jack while Arcee flashes back to when Cliffjumper and Bumblebee rescued her, then transforms to try to escape through sheer motorcycle determination. But Jack has reached Arachnid's ship, and it's time to prove why he's a partner and not a sidekick, pet, or luggage. Yeah, we don't have alternate modes or integrated weaponry, but humans are a tool-using species. And so Jack takes his fire starter and...
Jack!
If a spider is too big for the vacuum, kill it with fire. Obvious, really. Of course, this isn't the end for her, but not to worry, Arcee is here, and she knows the other way to put down a spider is a boot. Jack is safe, but Arachnid escapes, and no, it is not the last that we see of her. You don't make a spider-bot arch-enemy for someone and just leave it wandering out there unchallenged. That's not how things work, people. Predatory is built on two things, atmosphere and character, and it excels at both. This story already feels isolated, and then you throw in the flashbacks, and it really becomes an exercise in mood. Arachnid is an immediately memorable villain, and Jack rises to the occasion to show why this is about being a partnership with their human friends. But what I find refreshing in Arcee's story is that it shows us how she is fully developed as a person. She has dealt with loss. The series actually begins with her Autobot partner being killed by Decepticons, and it affects her decisions with a new, more fragile partner. She is coping with a horrifying traumatic past involving Arachnid and facing the terrifying threat that she now poses. This is not water off a duck's back, and that's absolutely vital to what I mean. It shows her strength of character that she is facing not just a dangerous enemy, but a prior abuser and the instrument of some of her emotional hang-ups. She is facing the embodiment of her own fear. She is affected by it, severely, but never broken by it. As I've lamented before, writers often seem to fear that the audience may not respect the female character if she demonstrates human weaknesses, despite the number of male icons who have done exactly that and maintained their sense of awesomeness. With Arcee, they trust that the audience will follow her emotional journey and emerged with at least the same respect, if not more so for her, because she had the strength to overcome her own weaknesses and triumph. Next month, the return of Arachnid in Crisscross.